welcome to In Business Talks 2, a weekly podcast about people who work together as a couple. Learn the secrets of business partnerships, the benefits and pitfalls of working together, be it husband and wife, father and son, mother and daughter, friends, relatives, or any other combinations of business partnerships. We are your hosts, Tracy and Ian Earle, founders of In Business, a networking and business support community. And together,
we are In Business. So our guests today are Stacey and Matt, brother and sister, providing a mentoring service to help agencies grow their business, working with lots of different agency owners across many different industries. Matt provides the strategic thinking and process building, while Stacey delves into the profitability side, helping owners to recognise, track and manipulate the financial levers of their business. As well as speaking with other couples, we'll let you know of any useful business apps and websites out there that our members have come across and shared with us in our regular weekly online meetings too. So without further ado, let's crack on with episode 22 of In Business Talks 2. So our guests today on In Business Talks 2 are Stacey and Matt, brother and sister of And Then the World. So welcome.
Welcome, guys. Good to have you on with us today.
Hello.
Hello. Hey.
Cool. So shall we start by asking you, can you tell us briefly what you do? What is it that you guys do?
Matt, I shall let you.
Okay, so Stacey and I work together at And Then the World, which is an agency owner coaching business. So quick potted history. Back in 2016, I set up my own agency called We Teach CRO. We're a specialist conversion rate optimization agency. Stacey and I started working together on that because I didn't have any knowledge about how to deal with finances, and Stacey does. So I brought her in to help there. And over time, started working with other agency owners and realized that we knew a fair amount about how to build an agency sustainably and profitably as well. So in 2020, Stacey and I formed And Then the World together, and we now coach 7 different other agency owners who, maybe a few years behind where we are.
Right. Cool.
Right.
So it seems like you developed then. I was about to ask you whose idea was it to go into business together? It seemed like a fairly natural progression, or what was there something that said we must go in business together? We must do this venture together. What was it that sparked it?
So obviously we've worked together on Matt's CRO agency for a few years, and I do other finance work as well through my own agency with other agencies. And basically, we just realised that whenever we had a problem, we'd talk to each other. You'd phone up and say, "Oh, I've got a client who's thinking about this. What are your thoughts?" And we realised that actually the skills that we have each, when you put them together, built a much bigger picture. So it enabled us to help more people in a much more rounded fashion. So then it was a bit like, oh, okay, so we do this anyway. Maybe we can formalize this. And we did. And actually, it's been very successful. I think we've made a good go of the business since last year, and we do seem to be helping quite a few people.
Good.
Yeah, I think that part, and you realize what impact that you've had. Some of the guys that we've worked with, their businesses have doubled in size over the course of a year or so, and that's not all down to us. Absolutely not. They've put in a lot of effort there. I think part of working with us is that it gives them a confidence. As a sole owner of a business, it can be quite a lonely place. I kind of cheated in a way, because despite the fact that for my agency I'm the sole director, I've had Stacey since day one.
Right.
So, and someone who actually knows how the business runs. So every time that I had problems, that's Stacey was the person that I'd call, because nobody else understood the business anywhere near as well. And then working with others, you realise that they haven't had that luxury.
Yeah.
It's not only do I have someone to go to, but it's my sister. I've known her my entire life. And there literally is nobody else that you would trust more in the world to give you the right advice, or at least to the best of their knowledge anyway.
Yeah. Oh, so it makes sense then, really. So it did make sense then, really, to join forces on that basis. And yeah. Oh, interesting.
So it sounds quite a niche business.
Is it?
Is it, or is it just us who hasn't heard of it?
Yeah, do you know, every niche is bigger than you think. I suppose. So there's a survey of independent agencies that we take part in every year, and I think the last time they did it, it was about 1,000 people took part in that. There are a lot of agencies, from technical ones, creative ones, marketing, even into more niche specialisms like ours as a conversion rate optimization agency. But there are literally thousands of these out there, and I guess if you want to be successful from a business perspective, you don't have to be famous for everyone. You just have to be famous for the small subset of people for which you can help. And that in the year or so that and then the world has been running, that we've kind of done in a very small way, but there are quite a few people who know what we do now within the market that we operate in.
Yeah, I mean, you're right about it being a lonely place when you run your own business. So it must be nice to have you sibling along with you to counteract that.
Yeah, it's someone you trust, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas if you bring in, say, an external finance person, you wouldn't give them full access to your bank account, but then they can't take over some of those tasks. You still have to do them yourself. Whereas because obviously the trust is there, because as he says, he's known me his whole life.
I know where you live.
I could take over that whole role, and he doesn't have to panic that I'm gonna, leave and run off with the company money. And I think as a business owner, having that trust in someone is quite a relief, really. You can pass that off to someone, and you know that it will be done and it is safe.
It's invaluable, really, isn't it? That.
Yeah. I mean, that's the good thing about family. Like, say, you do know each other well, and you probably get honest advice from each other. Because if you're not related, shall we say, do you always really get someone's true opinion? I think not. But I suspect if you're brother and sister, then you're going to give your true opinion on something, aren't you? It's going to be genuinely honest, isn't it? You know what I mean? And you can have discussions that you probably don't normally have with other individuals who might not be
I think as I've explained to some of my team at the agency, Stacey's been telling me I'm wrong for 30 years. So she's not going to stop now, just because we work together. But yeah, it is. I think one of the best things about being a business owner or company director is that you can do anything. But also the most dangerous thing about it is that you can do anything. Nobody is there to stop you doing something really daft. And luckily, thus far at least, I don't think I've done anything really daft. But part of that is because if I do ever come up with crackpot ideas, and believe me, I do, I can talk to Stacey and she'll be like, well, have you really thought all of that through? And then she'll like, have you thought about this? I'm like, no, I haven't. And they're things that you might have gone ahead with if there were not someone else there that you trusted to give you the unvarnished truth.
You sound like the sensible one, Stacey.
You sound like me there, Matt.
I think, I guess it's all an attitude to risk thing. Like no business or venture ever grew without taking some risks at all. I tend to see the positives in new directions or new ideas. I tend to see those quite early. I don't necessarily always see the downsides of things, but that's where making decisions in isolation, whether it's your business or a business you share, it doesn't really matter. But most of the time, businesses made in isolations are bad ones.
Yeah. Do you have a shared vision for the business? And what's the ultimate aim? Do you want to go global? Do you want to have 37 employees? What is it that you want to do? What's your vision?
Long term, I'm not sure we have a vision, because it's grown so much. We sort of came up with this idea last year, and already we have quite a lot of people. Also, because obviously Matt runs his own agency, I run my own agency, or finance stuff. We don't have, not all of our time is devoted to and then the world. So at the moment there is a payoff between what is essentially half of our day job
Yeah.
and our other half of our day job, and there's another day job in the middle there as well.
Right.
What we aim to do is provide a mentoring service that is affordable for small agency owners, because a lot of mentoring services, the price is quite high. You're looking at 4 figures a month. Well, when you're small, you
Yeah.
can't afford
Yeah.
that.
No,
That's
you
right. It's a lot
can't.
of money, isn't it?
So
Yeah.
for us, we were looking for a model that allowed us to provide that service at a reasonable cost, but also scale for both businesses. As they grow, we grow. So that was more important for us, that service was affordable and that we could reach the people, because the people starting out are really the ones who need it most. If you've managed to
Yeah.
get to a 500,000 turnover,
Yeah.
you're probably okay.
Yeah. You're probably
What
doing
you're
something
looking at
right.
is the people who are trying to go from 100 grand up to 200 grand. Those are the ones that really need some help, and those are the ones that can't afford to pay £1,500 a month
Yeah.
Yeah.
for a mentoring service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the other things that stood out for us when we looked at sort of the market as a whole was that a lot of mentors are people who are full-time mentors. They may have grown their agency and sold it 10 years ago. Well done. But the world changes, and it changes fast. Most agencies have some sort of hand in technology, whether it's direct or indirect. Whether they are selling technical services, or whether they're just their day to day is impacted by them. And one of the things that we've talked about with the guys we work with is that a lot of the mistakes that, because we're still in that game, I still run an agency on a day to day basis, and some of the mistakes that I'm warning them not to make, I only made a few years ago, and they still hurt.
Yeah.
They still chafe when you think about it. And because we're still doing it every day, we're still making those mistakes. The fact that we're maybe 2 or 3 times larger than some of the guys we work with doesn't really change anything. We're still learning daily. The guys that we work with teach us things, and we're like, you sit there and you listen, you're like, that's a brilliant idea. Why haven't I thought of that? So I guess we're far enough ahead of the guys we work with that we've got things we can say, when we were at your size, these are the things that either we did do or frankly we didn't do and we should have, in hindsight. But we're not so far beyond them that we can't remember what it's like.
So
what it's like to be there. So it's a good balance, I think.
Yeah, and it's good that you're coming from that personal experience. Aren't you? Which, if they haven't had an agency, or if they've had an agency and sold it, like you say, 10 years ago, everything has changed. And, how can they, it's like, I used to think it was a bit like a midwife trying to tell you how to bring up your baby, or to, when they used to come round after you'd had your baby and say, well, have you got any children? Oh, no, I haven't got any children. And it's kind of that sort of,
what is your experience really? It's textbook stuff and
you'd
things
feel
like that.
I think that the personal element's massively important, because nobody sets up a business for business reasons. They set up businesses for personal reasons. It's to give themselves more control over their time or their creative expression, or even over to some extent to what they earn. And all of those personal reasons, they have to stay in the forefront of your mind. Otherwise, why bother? What tends to happen is that people forget all of those reasons that they set it up, all those personal reasons, and they get stuck in the business reasons. And suddenly you're going, we need to turn over 40 grand a month, and you've got no idea why. Like, why do we need that? What am I going to do with it if I had it? How does it make my life better? And so what we always try and ground the people we work with in with starting with asking them what they want. Some of them want to take over the world, and that's great. Others don't. They don't want a business that's any bigger than maybe 10 people. They want something where they still know every person in their team, and they know them. They know their wives, children, whatever else it might be. Some of them don't want to have to work all week. One of the guys we work with, she would be happy working 25 or so hours a week and wants to spend the rest of the time doing other things. And it's if you don't pay attention to those things, you end up getting as trapped in your own business as you were in the salaried role that probably a safe, well-paid salaried job that you packed in in order to do this. So what have you gained?
We always say, there are easier ways to make money than running your own business.
Definitely.
There has to be other reasons for you to want to do this. Otherwise, just go and get a salary job. Make your money and clock off at 5.
Too many business owners give their life to the business, don't they? And they end up not having a life then, because it does take over.
Your business can take over your life if you're not careful, can't it?
Yeah, and I think part of personally, I enjoy that in a way. Like I like thinking about my business in odd moments, solving a problem at 9 o'clock at night in the shower or whatever else it might be. But that isn't, I guess that isn't for everyone, and I guess if you want the freedoms that business ownership provides, you have to remember that they come at a cost. Everything comes at a cost. But what we try and get our team, our guys to understand is that there still has to be balance in there somewhere. One of the most rewarding moments happened actually it was Tuesday afternoon. So Stacey's laughing because she knows what story I'm going to tell. We were on a call with one of the guys we've worked with for almost a year now. And one of the things we've been telling him is that he needs to take some time off because he's been working too long hours. And he booked we said to him, look, we know you're worried that things will struggle with the business if you're off for too long, so just book a day. Like talk to your wife, find a day that you can both have off work and go away for a long weekend. And he's booked a day at the end of this month, I think. And we were on our regular call with him, and someone walked into the room, so we couldn't see because they were off camera. And he spoke to this person, then turned around and he said, that was my wife. She asked, is that Stacey and Matt you're talking to? He said, yes. And she went, can you say thank you to him? And I was like, it's such an odd little thing. And it had nothing to do with business, but you realize those are the sort of things that actually matter to people and their families, is that someone else has gone, yes, you need to take a day off. Give yourself a break. The business will be fine. Go and spend some time with your wife.
Yeah, true. I think you guys have already touched upon this a bit anyway, but I'm curious, do you have definite roles within the business? Obviously, to some degree, you are split, because obviously you take care of the finance, but things like the marketing and everything else that you do, what roles what roles do you each have, or do you share the roles? Do you do it together?
Some bits are shared, but we do have fairly distinct roles. Matt tends to concentrate on the business strategy side. What do you want? How are we going to get there? And I concentrate on the finance side. So this is where you are now. You've told Matt you want to be over here. Okay, how can we use the money to get you from this bit to that bit? So it complements each other, the roles that we have. It helps as well because obviously you have to run the business. Although obviously we coach other people, we have to run our own businesses. And again, I would tend to do the finance, the admin, the company's house side, whereas Matt is more likely to do the talking to people initially, getting them onboarded, that sort of thing.
If you like what you hear so far, make sure you never miss a show by clicking subscribe or follow. This podcast is made possible because of listeners like you, so thank you, we really appreciate your support. Now back to the show. And did you naturally fall into those roles, did you say?
Yeah, pretty much. I guess I'm not a natural salesperson, but because I've been running an agency for the best part of 5 years, you have to learn. You have to You don't necessarily have to be comfortable with it, but
No.
you have to just get comfortable
You
with it.
get out of your comfort
you
zone,
do.
don't you, with
You
it?
do.
Yeah.
In the end, if you want to eat, you're going to have to sell at some point. So suck it up and get it done. And plus, because I am an agency owner myself, leveling with the people that we work with is very easy for me, because when they're talking to me about the challenges they're facing, chances are I have been there at some point and suffered that part. So yeah, and I think my network for other agency owners is pretty big. You would think that agencies are competitive with one another, but they're not really. Especially independent ones, it is it's a very inclusive place, and people will go out of their way to help you if they can. I guess in part because, like I said, they know that there are easier ways to earn money than what we do. You've got enough strain as it is. Like the very least you can do is be supportive of one another. So yeah, I guess that's always it was pretty natural for me to handle that side of things, and because of Stacey's finance background, her handling most of the admin that comes with running the business just kind of made sense as well. So it was I don't think we ever really talked about it in that
happened.
sense. It was just the roles that we've always performed with my agency, that it made sense when we started to do this, that we'd function the same way.
I can ask, do you guys agree on everything? And if you don't, how do you resolve the issues?
We're siblings. At what point have we ever agreed on everything? I'd say we don't disagree that frequently, because I think we're both people who like to set sort of guidelines about things. So how do we take money out of the business, for example? Like before we started even making any, we set guidelines for that, and we've tweaked them a bit over time. But they're written down in a place where we can both find them. We've kept any amendments that we've done. So yeah, I think we tend to try and solve problems before they happen. But that's who we are as people, really. We do disagree about different people that we work with at times, and what the right thing for that person is, and do we, what kind of direction do we need to take? But we sit and talk about it.
Talk it through.
Yeah, absolutely. And we won't always end that conversation in agreement either. But we will at least agree on a course of action. We agree on a course of action. It doesn't necessarily mean we both agree on it, but we will do something anyway.
I think
what we like as children. Then did
you get on
quite close?
So we did get on as children. I think I am slightly older than Matt. Like, it got to a point where he realised that when I was in a grumpy mood, he left me to it. And I think
it was about a 3 or 4 year period, wasn't it? That, from what I recall.
Yes, but yeah, I would say we got on fairly well as children. And then obviously you grow up and you do your own thing, and it's sort of, I went off and I had 2 children. Matt went off and he set up, he worked his way in he set up his business, and then we sort of come back together again. And it's been nice because we don't live in the same place, we probably wouldn't communicate as much as we do because we work together, and it's not always work. You start talking about work, don't you? And then you could move on to other conversations. We are quite capable of making the distinction between a disagreement at work and personal life. Like, they are completely separate. We can argue about something work related, fine, move on to talking about what we're going to do in the summer. Some people, I think, struggle with that, which is why they often recommend you don't work with family. If you're quite happy to differentiate work and personal, I don't think that's a big issue.
Do you think that working together then has strengthened your relationship in any way?
Yeah,
definitely. Like, we're better friends now than we've ever been. No doubt about that. I think I actually said that at my wedding a couple of years ago. But no, it's because, as Stacey said, like, it was never as children. It wasn't that we got on. We even did some of the same, sort of hobbies and stuff as kids. But when you get older, you go your own ways to a certain extent. I went and lived in different places, and my day to day became very different to what Stacey's was. And it's a lot of friendship is about shared experience and things that you can talk about that that the other person understands. And we probably lost a bit of that, in sort of late teenage and sort of early 20s, because our lives were just quite different. And then suddenly, when you start working together, well, now you've got something that both of you understand. First it was working on the business I set up, um, and then Stacey started doing work with other people like me in a similar vein, and then we set up and then the world together. It's like suddenly even though we live in completely different places, and call it home life's very different, work life is about as intertwined as it's going to get. Between two people, so we've probably got more in common now than we've ever had.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I seem to be asking all the questions here. Go on,
Sorry.
Tracy. If I was
No.
sorry, guys. I'm just naturally nosy. I can't help myself. Sorry.
I can't shut him up when he starts. No, I wasn't.
Okay, do you want me to go right? I have another question then, guys. This is one for Stacey. I'll ask you first, Stacey, and then I'll come to Matt. So, Stacey, what is Matt's most annoying work habit?
That is a long list.
Oh, well, yeah. I think it is worrying about something that he cannot change, because he will come to me and he will be quite annoyed or upset about something. The figures aren't looking great, but there is nothing he can do. Okay, so there is no point panicking until we get to that point where we can make the next decision and move on.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I think it's what we said earlier about balance. I know I'm not good at certain things. That's one of them. But Stacey is. Stacey's the perfect person for me to go to, and she'll let me do my rant because she knows I need to get it out. And then she'll tell me, "Yeah, I know that's where we are. You can't do anything about it. So just, relax." And so you need that person who's got that counterbalance to your weaknesses.
And the same question to you. Then I'll give you a chance now. Then,
this is an easy one. Stacey's an accountant. She's a finance person by profession. So she sees a lot of things in black and white. In it's either you do this or you don't do this. As a business owner, especially if you employ other people, you have to think about people sometimes, and people are the great intangible. They don't fit neatly into buckets. You can't always quantify them. What they get paid is not a sum of their worth, sort of sort of point. But like I said, that's why we're balanced, because we both fit the counterbalance of the other one's weakness. Yeah.
Cool. So,
and what's the best thing about being in business together, would you say?
I think it's the fact that you can trust someone 100%.
Mm-hmm.
There are very, very few people in your life that you can trust 100% in business or, with personal things. And having someone that is there all of the time, who will back you up, even if you're wrong.
Especially if you're wrong.
They will have your back. Yeah. And later on, they'll be like, "What on earth were you talking about?" But at that point in time, they will be there for you.
Yeah.
You'll have your rows in private about what it is, but no, I'd support that entirely. It's like you don't. It was only when we started spending more time with other agency owners that you realised how fortunate we were. Stacey, at the time when we first started working together, it had been a few years since she'd given up her salary job, to look after the kids. And it just fell in at the right time, really, didn't it? It was, you were available. You had a set of skills that every business owner needs. Frankly, they do. You all need someone who understands how finance works. And we just kind of fell into it. from there on. But yeah, it's only speaking to other people who haven't had that kind of luxury that you realised. Yeah, I'm pretty lucky actually to have somebody who, yeah, as you said, you trust implicitly. I'm the younger sibling. I've known, like, Stacey's been there my entire life. I don't recall a time where she wasn't. So you know that you can trust that person to back you at any point.
And when you do meet sort of on family occasions or whatever, do you find you talk about business, or do you think, right, no, we're not going to talk about business because it's family time, we're together? Or do you sort of drift into the old, what do you think about this, and how does that go?
It depends, doesn't it? Sometimes we do. I think last time Stacey came to visit over the summer, most of it was not spent doing that, but I had to sign something, didn't I? We had some paperwork that needed sorting that frankly was easier to do in person. So Stacey brought it with her, and we dealt with it. No, I'd say we try not to talk work too much.
Especially if there's other people about, because
Yeah,
it's boring
yeah.
for that. Like,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
what we find interesting,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
not.
Yeah, you tried to talk to your
Yeah,
husband about
that's
spreadsheets, haven't you, Stace? Like, he
It's
just
not
doesn't get it.
You see everybody glazing over.
Yeah, well, our dad loves a spreadsheet, so he'd actually probably be quite interested if we were talking spreadsheets with him. But
Our mother, less so.
yes, yeah,
I was going to say, what do your parents think about the
fact that you're
relationship?
working together.
I think they just use it as an excuse to say, have you spoke to Matt? So every time I speak to Mum, she's like, have you spoke to Matt?
yeah.
Like, well, yeah, but just about work, you know.
Stacey still lives fairly close to our parents, whereas I don't. So yeah, she tends to get more of the questions about stuff. But yeah, I don't know. They've never really commented on it all that much, have they? I think maybe it's because since day, even before the first day my first company started trading, Stacey was there helping me set it up, because if you've ever registered something with HMRC or done something like that for the first time, the language is somewhat impenetrable.
Yeah.
And all you want is somebody sat there going, yeah, I agree that means that.
Yes.
Like, it doesn't mean that Stacey had never registered a company in her life at the time either, but it was like, do you think that means this thing? Like, yeah, that's what it looks like to me. Like, all right, in we'll go. So yeah, I guess for 5 years we've always done it together. There's not been a suddenly like, oh, it was me and then Stacey joined halfway through. Yeah, and I think that our parents are generally supportive of just about anything that we've ever done.
Yeah.
They've always instilled that confidence. If you want to do something, go and do it.
For it.
Yeah, it can be done.
And if you had to do it all again, guys, if you had to work together again, would you, or would you change anything?
Yeah, no. I think we've learned, we've made mistakes together along the way, and we laugh about them now. I messed our second VAT return up because Stacey did it the first time, and then I thought I could do it on my own. I could not.
That'll teach you.
Yeah, well, yeah,
suppose,
exactly. Like, well, I don't even know why I tried to do it myself. It was daft. What do you have someone with expertise for if you're going to try and do it yourself?
What's been the biggest thing you've shared together as a success? What's been without obviously naming names? Have you had a really good thing? Wow, that went brilliantly well. What highs have you had working together? What's your biggest one? How's that, if you can think of it?
I think for me, it's probably the success that we've had over the last year with and then the world in general. Just the people that whose businesses we've seen grow.
Yeah.
Because you realise the level of impact on their personal lives and then the knock on for their families and such like that you have, and that we don't run and then the world because we need the money. We both have day jobs really that pay the bills. We do it because we honestly think that people's lives can get better if they're only just nudged in the right direction. We're not doing it for them at all. It's all off their own bat. They just sometimes need to know what direction to put their efforts in.
Yeah.
And when you see people's businesses go through such big changes, big positive changes, you can go to bed at night feeling pretty happy.
Yeah.
With
Pleased
yourself.
with yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've
Must be
helped
very
that,
satisfying
yeah.
to see that.
Yeah.
that
yeah.
you've helped them
it's
make
like
a
being,
difference.
Yeah, it's like being a guide, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah.
Like guiding people along. Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
And what tips or advice would you give someone who was thinking of going into business with their other sibling,
Firstly, make sure that you are capable of splitting up your work self and your personal self. If you are going to take that work discussion personally, and it's, you know, then going to be an issue when you get to your mum's 60th birthday or something, it's not going to work. You know, you can't be arguing about it long past the work argument. And you have to trust each other, because just because you're siblings doesn't mean that you trust someone. You know, that you can't help being siblings.
It was an accident at birth, wasn't it?
So the trust needs to be there, because if you are going to work together, and there is always money involved, isn't there? If you don't trust each other to be honest with each other, there's going to be problems.
Do you agree with that? Well, I'm sure you do agree with that, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as Stacey said, just being family doesn't mean that you trust each other at all. And so if you haven't got that, it's the same with anyone else that you went into business with, really. It's just the stakes are higher. If it's family, it threatens to work, also threatens what goes on in family life as well. So I think your sibling could be the best business partner you ever have, or they're the worst one that you never have.
I think you've got a lot more to lose, haven't you?
I've experienced it. I know a couple of brothers who went into business together, and one of them actually sort of ran off with all the money and left the other one with a shed load of debt and all sorts of problems that it took him years to recover from. I don't think they've ever spoken since, but it all went. I imagine
they haven't. I can't blame him for that, to be honest. But it has to be. You have to have that trust, because otherwise, you're making life harder, not easier.
There's a lot more at stake, isn't there? I think. So if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Probably through our website. So andthen.world. You can go and see Stacey and I's wonderful, shiny, smiley faces on there, and a selection of some of the people that we work with as well, if you want to have a look at what it's like to coach other agency owners.
Jolly good. Well, we'll put all those details in the show notes so that people can get in touch if they want to. And you're on LinkedIn as well?
Yes. Yeah, I can't tell you what my URL is off the top of my head.
No, don't worry. I don't think anybody can.
We'll seek you out. Don't worry. We'll find you.
We've got the links anyway. That's fine.
And, thanks very much, guys.
Yeah, it's been lovely chatting to you.
It's been really interesting having a chat with you both. Yeah, it's been good.
It's
cool.
It's been good. There's some good advice there as well. So it's been great having you on the show, you two. And we've got all your show details in the show links, and all we can say is thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
And take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
And now we come to our knowledge share for this week. So, Tracy, what's our knowledge share for this week?
It's called Subtitle, and it's where you can add captions to your videos effortlessly and make your social media videos stand out. Subtitles transcribes the spoken word from your video and adds the text as timed captions, and you can get 2 of those free per month. We'll also put the details in the show notes too.
Wow, another great share there, Tracy. So get in touch, folks, and let us know if you try it and what you think. Well, we're almost at the end of this week's show, but before we go, we're excited to tell you about our bonus episode, The Friday Fix, where we will be discussing a business-related subject with a fellow business owner who will be sharing their advice, thoughts, or knowledge on a particular topic.
Our special guest on Friday's show is Jennifer Rawlinson, and she specialises in workplace mental health and wellbeing training. Jennifer works with organisations to help them with their wellbeing strategy, and in particular specialises in mental health, first aid and champions training. Also, if you'd like to join us at one of our online networking meetings, then the link is in the show notes.
Thanks so much for joining us this week on In Business Talks 2. We hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, all we ask is that you simply tell a friend about the show. We'd really appreciate it.
Until next time, this is Ian and Tracy, and together we are in business. Goodbye.
Goodbye.